But first of all, I just want to explain that going to the Philippines, even though I was only there for 5 days, the others were there longer than a week, what an exciting time to be there. And thank you for everybody that prayed for us, and even some people gave financially for the trip. And we used those finances to just fund some large lunches and dinners for those that went soul winning. I used those funds toward that because, we're out there busy for several hours working hard. And so when we got together for a bit of fellowship, I used those funds to just feed the team. But just some of the highlights, for me anyway, number one was obviously preaching at Verity Baptist Church, Manila. Obviously preaching at another church from time to time is always a bit of a highlight, meeting new brothers and sisters in the Lord. The church was very welcoming, but it wasn't just the fact that it was Verity Manila that were there, but there were several people from other churches. So obviously there were brothers from Blessed Hope Baptist Church. There were obviously from our church as well. And then we had several from churches in the United States. So people from Steadfast were there, Steadfast Baptist. There were some from Faithful Word Baptist Church. There were some from Verity Baptist Church. And I don't know if I'm going to list them all. I think there was one from Faith Baptist Church from memory as well. There were so many, such a different, so many brothers and sisters from different churches, and just to be together, having church service and being able to preach before them was definitely a highlight of mine. One of my favorite, I'll tell you two of my favorite times when I preached the gospel. One was I came across a couple, a boyfriend and girlfriend, in the park. And the girl at the beginning, she was more keen into hearing what I had to say, but the boyfriend kind of seemed to be almost an atheist. He basically was pretty much saying to me that he's pretty much an atheist, and he seemed the most resistant to the gospel. But people in the Philippines, they're quite polite. I think it's hard for them to say, no, I don't want to hear it. Now, there are some that say that, don't get me wrong. There are some that will say, no, I don't want to hear it, I'm not interested. But by and large, they're very polite, and they'll give you the opportunity to give the gospel. Well, when I gave this young couple the gospel, it was the young lady who was first kind of keen and interested in hearing it. But once I got into, the death of Christ and the payment of his blood and the free gift of salvation, it was the boyfriend that was kind of leaning forward the most and like tell me, keep going. He seemed to be the most keen, and it was wonderful that they both called upon them, the Lord. But I had a few of those situations where it seemed like there were two people you could give the gospel to. One was the least interested, and then that person was the most interested because they're kind of hearing it for the first time, and just getting them both saved was wonderful. The other highlight of mine was I went to sit next to an older man at the park and started to give him the gospel, and he saw his family from a distance, and he quickly called his wife. He called his wife and his kids, a daughter and a son. He called them over, and I had to kind of start all over again. And again, the wife was kind of resistant. He was keen. He was this is good information. He was so happy to hear what we had to say. And it was just wonderful because the children were probably, the daughter was maybe 12 years old and the son was about 8 years old, something along those lines. And be able to give the gospel to an entire family and seeing they'll all call upon the name of the Lord was just, to me, that was probably my favorite. Out of everything, that was probably my most favorite part in giving the gospel in the Philippines, just seeing a whole family get saved. And I had Sister Flora with me as a silent partner, and even she had some tears coming off her face, seeing the entire family get saved. So those were my personal highlights. Now, before we get to the video, if Brother Corey, if you want to come up here and just give some of yours, I'm sure the church will enjoy it.
I have very similar highlights.
All right, no worries.
Cool. Feels special now. Yeah, pretty similar highlights. One thing I really noticed, one thing that was the massive highlight was once someone got saved, they actually went, they weren't thinking about themselves anymore because they're oh, okay, I'm saved, right? But what about my friends, right? So it's just something that we don't have in Australia where people get saved, right? And then they just live their life. They don't tell any of their family about Jesus, right? They don't try and bring their friends over. I think it's pretty sad in Australia, but in the Philippines, they think about each other way more than they think about themselves, which is pretty amazing. The food there was great, but I won't talk about that. I think another massive highlight, which Pastor Kevin probably agrees with, but he didn't go into, was our experience at the school. So we got to preach to 44 classrooms, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 44 classrooms, each with about 30 students. and a large majority of them got saved, right? Which is pretty amazing with just like a classroom environment, speaking to 30 kids, right? Not being able to target an individual one, but most of them got saved, which was pretty great. I have nothing else to contribute, I don't think.
That's all right. Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate it. All right.